Hey, Shelby, get in. It's time for a house call.
Where are we headed, Renata?
Let me tell you on the way. I'll give it a whiff. It smells earthy. You want to smell it? Give it a whiff. It smells like dirt. It doesn't smell like rotting banana peels or anything like that. So the roots are actually looking really good. Pitiful and disappointing. We've all been there with a plant before. Unlike people, plants can't complain, fidget, or fuss. Even without plants putting voice to their deficiencies, most of us can tell when something's just not quite right. But what is actually causing the plant to look so dissatisfactory? It's at this frustrating moment that most home growers are left feeling deficient themselves and ready to toss the problem plant into the trash. That's exactly where Staci finds herself with her nerve plant and arrowhead vine in the case of the stagnant plants.
I've tried more water, less water, and then true confession, I gave up on it. That's
probably why it's doing better.
I was to the point it was just going to go in the trash.
Renata, sometimes, you're doing a new project or maybe a recipe and things are just not turning out and you're kind of just calling it a failure and want to put it in the trash. Do we often see that when we look in plants and horticulture and gardening?
Everybody struggles with that feeling of like, this isn't working. I want to give up. This is just not for me. In fact, people tell me all the time that they are plant killers. And I'm going to tell you, I usually don't accept that. Because I think if anybody really wants to learn how to garden, learn how to grow a plant, that they can. They just need the right information and they need the support of a friend that knows what they're doing. That is where I come in.
Hi!
Don't mind me, I'm not Mary Poppins.
Let me help you.
I told you my supply situation was a little
You brought
precarious.
everything.
I wanted to be prepared for all the situations. So let me tell you about Staci. Staci is a relatively new grower.
Well, my grandmother always wanted me to grow things, and I always killed them when she gave them to me. And then when I became an empty nester was about the time that you started your bus.
And she's a customer of mine on the plant bus.
So I decided I'll go see if Renata can make me a grower. So I went and I bought 2 plants. I now have a lot of plants and I've learned everything from you.
She's still kind of finding her way in the growing world. I wouldn't consider her an extreme novice, but she's also not the most experienced gardener.
You can Google anything. But then that was even overwhelming to try to figure out the basics. I needed the basics.
Right. There's a lot on the internet.
Yes. So I was able to get enough basics from all of your videos and from talking to you that like I could build on it and like, okay, well, it worked on this one. Maybe it'll work on this one too.
And she's at a point in her life now where she's an empty nester and she actually has the time to dedicate towards a hobby and towards growing this skill.
I don't know. I've just found a joy in keeping plants alive and seeing them grow and seeing them look nice. I just I don't know, they've kind of become my little babies. Maybe that's what happens when you're an empty nester.
Yeah, it could be.
You get dogs and you get plants.
She's at a point in her relationship with plants and with her growing abilities where all of her successes are very rewarding. Her failures are still kind of chipping away at her confidence more easily than they would a more experienced grower. And the mysteries in her plants, the things that she doesn't know what's going on with them, she's not very comfortable diagnosing those problems or working through a systematic diagnosis. And so that's where I come in. That's where I can help her build on that skill set, build on her confidence.
What I enjoy the most is like when they look healthy. Like I can look at it, I'm like, oh, it's actually lived here and it looks healthy.
She's mentioned a couple of plants that just aren't thriving.
That's the reason I'm glad you're here today, because I have some friends that don't look so healthy.
She's not sure what's going on with them. She just knows they're not actively growing, not actively thriving. And so I thought, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity for a house call. Let's go check on her plants and see what's up. So I brought a mountain of supplies. As you can see, I like to be prepared for all eventualities. But let's go grab the 2 plants that you mentioned you were struggling with. We can start with the nerve plant. It's otherwise known as Fittonia.
Okay, well, I inherited this plant from my mother because she couldn't, I don't know, she gave up on it. And it goes in spurts of doing well, but then it gets this crusty. As you can see, it's getting some new growth, but I get these, it just doesn't look happy.
So Staci had this nerve plant in her house for 4 months. She inherited it from her mom. And it's actually funny, couldn't really say exactly how long she had it. Most people don't really think in terms of timelines when they are taking care of plants. If I weren't here to help you with this kind of last effort to make it look healthier again, what would your next steps be? Like if you were going to try to do something else with this?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know?
To be completely honest with you. I mean, I had thought about pulling it out and looking at its roots.
Right. Which is what we're going to do.
That'd probably be my next step because that's the one thing I haven't done.
I love that Staci thought of this because I feel like I've trained her right. Anytime I'm working with a house plant and it's not thriving, the first thing I do is look at the roots. And you probably know this from our experience working together on diagnosing houseplant problems.
Why do you look at the roots first? Why is that always your first go-to step?
That's because the roots will always tell you if you're overwatering or underwatering. Because roots that are overwatered are going to be rotten. They're going to be brown, slimy, maybe not even present anymore. And healthy roots are at least going to be there. So you can always tell if a plant's been overwatered by looking at the roots.
Are healthy plants white and firm in their roots?
Healthy roots are always firm in texture. They usually don't smell bad. And they are usually light in color, but that's not a hard and fast rule for all plants. What I'm noticing right off the bat is how much the soil has either compacted or washed away in this because the soil is only about halfway up into the grow pot.
How does soil wash away if it's in a pot?
Because there are some particles that are smaller than others in potting mix. And so those are the first ones that are carried out with the water. Every time you water, the water rushes over those particles, carries them out the drain hole of the pot. And when that happens, root health starts to diminish. So I can tell that from just looking at it.
So looser soil is better.
You really want loose soil because the porosity in the potting mix helps your roots exchange gas. So carbon dioxide and oxygen exchange is something we learn about from a young age with plants, but not a lot of us think about it happening in the roots, and it does. And so having that porous space in the potting mix is really important, especially for nerve plants because we've got really fine roots. Now what's encouraging to see with this plant is that you've got some really light colored roots. I'll give it a whiff. It smells earthy. You want to smell it? Give it a whiff. It smells like dirt. It doesn't smell like rotting banana peels or anything like that. So the roots are actually looking really good.
Do all plants have the same relationship quantity-wise of how big the plant is up top to how much root there is below?
Oh, definitely not. A lot of plants like succulents, for example, hold a lot of water in their leaves and they have very shallow, fine, small root systems. Whereas something like an oak tree or maybe a tall grass prairie plant can have like a very disproportionate amount of roots to a small amount of foliage above ground. There's not a ton of roots here, which is interesting considering it's probably at least a year old.
It is a year old.
What's really happening here is we're just lacking some growth. We're lacking foliage, we're lacking some root growth. Got this nice leggy plant that's a little crispy. Nerve plants are really attractive plants. People love them because of their really tropical looking leaves, that coloring.
So what does a nerve plant look like?
A nerve plant is very vibrant in color. Its veins are bright in color, either white or red or pink, and the leaves are dark green. So it's got this really crazy contrast that gives you, like, you picture like blue frogs and beautiful orchids, like when you think of the tropics. That's what I think of, okay? And so that contrast in color just doesn't occur as much in, like, say, the Midwest. People don't realize is that they're very demanding of our attention. We call them diva plants.
Are there any plants that aren't demanding of your attention?
Oh, yes. Like any plant, like mother-in-law's tongue, ZZ plant, succulents, some succulents, not all succulents, can go without water for 1 to 2 months even. So those are not fussy about their moisture. So when I'm using the term diva plant, I'm referring to how frequently you need to check them to water them, basically. I call them kitchen sink plants because I inevitably am going to be standing at my kitchen sink every morning, and that allows me to check on my nerve plant that's sitting beside my kitchen sink.
How does it wilt dramatically?
It flattens itself to the pot level, like it looks dead as a doornail, but it's not. If you allow it to wilt dramatically, repeatedly, it will start to lose leaves.
Okay, so true honesty. In December, I don't remember what happened. You know, life gets crazy. And I glanced over there, and I must have missed watering a week when the kids were all home, because this whole thing was hanging off the pot.
I love how Staci just feels prompted to confess to me, like, that's great. They're kind of like a possum. They play dead.
I thought, oh, I really killed it. But I mean, it's back up. But maybe this is payment for me trying to kill it.
How quick does this plant dry out? I mean, you mentioned it's a kitchen sink plant.
Well, Shelby, it depends.
Gosh dang it, Renata.
It's about how dry your air is, how much light the plant is receiving, how big the plant is, how mature it is, how thoroughly you're watering the plant every time you water it. But in general, nerve plants for sure need to be watered at least once a week. I've never seen a nerve plant go longer than that, and sometimes up to every 2 to 3 days.
Wow.
But allowing it to dry out that frequently does take a toll on it. It does take a toll.
Well, it's only done it once, but still.
Right, but I don't know how many times your mother let it happen to the plant
I
either.
don't know about that.
The problem with plants that are inherited is we have no history of their care before doing this diagnostic process, before Staci received the plant. So that makes us a little bit more of a struggle. So what we're gonna do to remedy this situation, we're gonna help encourage new growth in the roots and the shoots by, I'm gonna break up the root zone. Actually, I'm gonna have you do this.
Okay.
Because I think it's good to get some practical experience and I can coach you through it.
Okay,
I didn't even tell you
rings
that.
off.
I feel like you knew I was coming. You shouldn't expect to get your hands dirty a little bit. I'm gonna put this out here so we got plenty of space. So we're gonna break up the roots and I'm gonna get my little pail potting mix that I brought with me. So this came straight from the greenhouse. I believe in fresh potting mix, and what's more fresh than what I'm using in production right now. So I brought that along.
So break it up.
So yeah, you're gonna break up the roots. First of all, you've got to understand what kind of roots you're dealing with. We're working with nerve plant roots, which are like threads. They're the same diameter as a thread. And so they're very fine and very fragile. Now, if we're working with something like an arrowhead, like a philodendron family member, a monstera, they've got really thick, pithy roots, and they're going to be not as easy to break off of the plant. And so that you want to gauge how rough you are with the plant based on how thick the roots are and how many are there. So if you've got really dense circling roots, you're going to be able to break more of those and it's less a percentage of the root mass. Whereas with this one, the nerve plant we're dealing with has very few roots and very fine roots. So we want to, yes, break it up a little bit to make sure we get some of that compacted mix out of there so we can put new mix in, but not so much so that you're breaking it off the plant. So it's really important we don't pack the potting mix, but we'll just tap it in so that if there's any like clumps, they'll kind of come to the surface. This also has no fertilizer added in it.
So if we're talking about fertilizer and going to add it in, is it a dry fertilizer? Is it a liquid fertilizer?
We are going to use liquid feed fertilizer. We're going to mix a concentrated amount of fertilizer into a watering can, and it's really important that you have a watering can to do this step because you've got to have measurements. You got to be able to dilute the concentrated fertilizer in a watering can. So Staci did not have a watering can. Can we actually see what you use and use it?
Yeah.
Because this is
You're gonna die.
This is a common thing. Actually, oh my gosh.
My
Staci.
water plant.
So I am holding in my hand a McDonald's cup. And you know, this is not unusual for people to use to water their plants with.
You say not unusual, but is there a concern with people maybe using a McDonald's cup for the watering device?
When you use a cup, there's a chance that someone might drink out of it. And fertilizer, just really not good to ingest.
Everybody knows that that's the plant cup.
Okay. Thankfully, I brought all my supplies with me, so I brought the watering cans with me because I kind of had a suspicion we might not have a watering can available.
This one didn't make the last fertilizer cycle because it wasn't at my house.
Okay, yeah, so it's been 4 months.
So it
then.
probably has never had fertilizer.
Right. So could be why it's also not looking as happy. With plants, it's important to remember that there are actually 17 essential nutrients they need to build cells and actually grow. Now, the most common we think of is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And those are always the main numbers you see on the fertilizer, like 20, 20, 20, or 10, 14, 10. That's beside the point, but what you really need to pay attention to is something that's balanced. So again, I like all-purpose things because you can use it for many purposes. You get the most bang for your buck. So I usually go for an all-purpose fertilizer. They're always going to be labeled with good instructions on how to apply it for either a house plant or an outdoor plant. So if you just follow the houseplant instructions, that's a great way to go about fertilizing your houseplants. So what you're going to do when you water it in, it's important to let the water drain to the very bottom so you fully satiate it. There you go.
See, I'd be worried about
Just go.
overwatering it.
You can't actually overwater in one given watering.
Really?
It is the frequency of watering that can overwater a plant. So it's good to fully satiate it all the way through and then fully let it use that water.
Huh. Okay.
So now that I've finished walking Staci through her fertilizing and her repotting of her nerve plant, all that's left for me to do is coach her through what the pinching process is going to look like. I'm going to recommend, in order to initiate branches on this plant, that you pinch the plant.
Pinch the plant, like what I used to do my sister when I was younger?
It's the motion of pinching, but you're removing the very tip growth of a plant. And removing that tip growth actually removes a source of hormones, and it forces branching lower in the plant. So on a nerve plant, you find the top leaf areas where the leaves are branching out of and the main stem right here. And then you're going to cut with your trimmers, which I'm not going to do this now because it needs these growths, but you're going to cut right between nodes. A node is a point where there's potential for growth on the stem of a plant. And so roots or leaves can form from a node. I don't want to remove any potential for collecting light from this plant yet.
Okay.
I'd much rather you wait to see new growth
When should I
form.
do that?
I would, as soon as you feel like it's put on another, maybe at least one more set, if not two more sets of leaves on top of what it's already had.
Okay.
If you want, you can take a picture of it as it currently is, because I have a hard time remembering what that looks like. And then, or you can always send me a picture later and say, hey, Renata, is this ready to prune yet? That's one of the perks of being a garden club member.
There you go. Okay, I have a picture.
Okay, now that Staci's feeling her nerve plant is under control and in the right direction, we're gonna take a look at her arrowhead vine. It's got kind of an arrow-shaped leaf. They're blush in color. The specific cultivated variety looks like that, but you can get all kinds of colors of these. They're very popular. They're kind of like a vertical philodendron vine. Arrowhead vines are a vine, but when you buy them in the plant shop, they don't look like a vine. They look like a little bush. And so sometimes people buy them without realizing that they're gonna have to train these vines upward because they're climbers. They do not trail. There's kind of two types of plants, but they don't grow down, they grow up. And you don't have a support yet, largely because this plant isn't quite big enough yet for you to feel the need for it. But believe me, it's better to start young and get it oriented that direction.
I didn't know it needed a support.
Right.
Well, this looked much prettier when I got it. I have struggled with the leaves curling ever since I got it. I've tried putting it in different light. I've tried more water, less water, and then true confession, I gave up on it. I was
That's probably why it's doing better.
I was to the point it was just going to go in the trash.
Her leaves are starting to curl over in her arrowhead vine. Why could that be?
So the specific type of curling that's happening is that the new growth, simply just the leaves aren't unfurling. So when new growth comes into a plant, you can picture they're tight and crinkly and they're all curled up coming out of the stem, and then they start to unfold themselves. And these leaves just aren't unfolding. In fact, some of them aren't even turning a blush pink color like the rest of the plant is. So there is a weird problem going on with this plant. So we're going to do similar to what we did with the nerve plant. We're going to tip it out of its pot and we're going to look at what the root health is doing.
Okay.
Because it's got this weird unrolling thing. Kind of like your nerve plant, it's having an issue with growth stunting. It's either not receiving enough light or not enough fertilizer, or it's drying out too frequently in between watering.
How can you tell if your plant's stunted?
Usually it just stops growing. That's what stunted means. And it's just not getting something that it needs to continue growing.
It was tight in there.
Which probably is why it's got some of these crispy leaves going on. Whenever you notice leaf tip crispiness or margin crispiness like that, usually because those are the last areas on a leaf where water is translocated, that's the first sign you're going to see that it's drying out and staying dry too long.
Okay.
This arrowhead vine was very tight in its pot, which was leading to some of this drought stress symptoms and also ultimately to the stunted growth. There is a phenomenon called circling roots.
Circling roots, going in circles?
It's basically what people think of when they think of a root-bound plant. Whenever you grow something in a container, the roots have a limit, they have a boundary. And so if you've got a lot of roots, they start to circle inside the pot, and that can cause girdling. That's the phenomenon of girdling. I do think we need to go up in pot size with this. We don't want those roots circling. We want them to be able to stretch their toes out. I like to keep it tight, but not too tight. So I wanted to try these out like we're trying on a pair of shoes.
Okay.
How do you make sure it's not too tight, but also not way too big?
You just don't want it to be swimming in the pot size or so compact that it stunts the growth. So I usually say if you're noticing that your plant is drying out quickly, actually too quick for you to stay ahead of watering it, then that's a sign you need to go up about an inch in pot size.
An inch in pot size in diameter or in depth?
Usually when you buy a pot that's an inch bigger in diameter, it also increases the depth, but it's more important to increase that diameter than it is to increase the depth. Let's add the soil.
I might decide I like this plant after all.
Well, that's the goal here. All right,
Well, it's just frustrating after you try and it just still looks like, ugh.
So I also want you to notice that there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were originally 7 plants in one container.
What do you mean by 7 plants? Because when I look at the plant, it kind of just looks like one, like a tree with a bunch of little branches off.
Right, well, with vining plants specifically, tropical vining plants, they're not good branchers. And so in our greenhouse industry, we have a habit of putting multiple vines in one pot so it looks more round and aesthetically pleasing to our eye. And so usually like with this arrowhead vine, there were actually 7 vines in one pot, and that's gonna make it grow up more full, but it's also something to be aware of. A lot of people ask me, should we split those up for the health of the plant? No, remember in a tropical jungle, these plants are all growing in very tight spaces, so you might as well leave it, especially to gain that aesthetic value. Plus, if one of them dies, then you're not worse for wear. Whenever I notice discoloration in plants, I always say to keep an eye on it and watch what happens with it over time, because usually more symptoms will reveal themselves.
Okay.
So being an observant grower is half the battle. It's okay not to know the answers all the time. You don't have to panic and make rash decisions. A lot of times people kill their plants by making rash decisions. There are also the types of growers like Staci who really definitely need coaching in order to take action to remedy their plants. So what I did next with Staci is walk her through kind of which leaves to remove and which leaves to keep on the plant before we ended up fertilizing and eventually finishing up the grooming, fertilizing, repotting process, similarly to what we did with the nerve plant. All right, that one looks like it needs to,
Just take the whole thing off?
You want to practice that?
See, this is what makes me nervous. I'm scared I'm gonna hurt something.
The best part about plants
Is what?
they grow back. I feel like that was a bad knock-knock joke.
I don't know. I don't
See, look how much
really
better it's
see-
looking already. Okay, this one, even though it's not crispy, look how yellow it is. That is just not healthy. So
we
you can
could
pull that
just
one
take
off.
it off?
Yeah, pull that one off. So now we're gonna pull this out. We're gonna talk support. You said you're nervous about support, like you don't have experience with supporting
No
plants.
experience.
What makes you nervous to jump in?
It's just something different, something new to learn.
Yeah. So
Like where to put it and how to put it and
without hurting the plant?
yes.
So there's a few types of support you can use for plants that grow upward, but they really need support if they're growing upward because in nature they have tree trunks to grow up. In our homes, they have nothing but maybe our walls to lean against, that kind of thing. And I have cats, so they constantly knock down plants that are not supported. So it is important as good caretakers that we support our plants. You can use trellises, you can use stakes like we're gonna use here. That's what I had in my
Where do you get a
stuff.
stake?
You can go to a garden center, you can use scrap wood like I do. I go down to my dad's shop and I raid his wood store. My poor father. You can also create your own moss pole. I have a whole YouTube video on this that you may have watched. You
Probably a long
could
time
watch.
ago.
But I made it with a PVC base and I made it stackable. Now I don't recommend moss poles from the get-go with smaller plants because they don't really quite need them yet, and moss poles are really tall.
What does a moss pole look like?
It is like you've got your main stake in the center, and then you've got some kind of moss wrapped around, like kind of matted to the outside of that stake. And it's supposed to mimic like a natural situation so the plant can actually root into the moss pole. Now, you actually have to keep the moss pole kind of moist in order to get those roots to tap into it. So it's not always serving the purpose that it should for most home growers. And that's why with Staci, we used a cedar stake because I felt like it was more practical and lighter weight for a smaller plant. And then I've got some Velcro strips, and you can get this anywhere. Amazon, Velcro is a lot of places. Lots of people use twist ties, ribbon, anything to tie it to the stake is helpful. But I like Velcro because you can reuse it. I use the soft side next to the stem. But what we're gonna do with this stake is we're gonna stick it kind of in the center, and we're gonna kind of just twist it down in around some of the roots. I'm gonna let you do this.
Oh, this makes me nervous.
It was really important for me to have Staci actually do this process and that I didn't do it for her because she needed to feel what it felt like while I was there, and I could tell her, yes, this is the way. You're doing it right.
How close do you put that stake to the plant?
Well, really, you don't have to get it centered or anything. It's just important that you can actually put it close enough that the plant can reach it so that you can actually train the plant up the stake.
You sure I'm not going to go through anything and kill anything?
You are, but this plant's tough.
Okay.
Okay? So my problem is I always get them crooked.
Yeah, that is crooked.
Staci really, it bothered her that it was crooked. And once I pointed it out for her, and she just really was like starting to jostle the stake. And it's really important that once you kind of wedge it down into the root system, that you don't do that too much because it's just gonna make the problem worse. How did that feel to stick that down in there?
Scary.
But you did it!
But I did it.
And the plant's alive.
Oh, we think.
It is. It's gonna be fine. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, you can either go about this a couple ways. You can go one stem at a time and train, or you can go a couple at a time. These are not all that vine-like yet, but we can work our way through this.
If we're working on training the vine up the stake, does it need to be tight to really be close and be friendly, or let it be loose and flopsome still?
Well, it's really up to the grower and what they like with the aesthetic, but it's important to stabilize it because that's the point of this support. And you don't want them so tight on there that it's going to constrict it. It's kind of like the girdling roots. You don't want to girdle your stems either. But that leaves enough room in there. You can see the other thing I like about Velcro, it's technically little hooks and loops. And so if the plant's really constricted, it can pop the Velcro.
Okay.
As long as you don't overlap it too much, the Velcro. Like if I were to go around it 3 times, it wouldn't be able to pop
Yeah,
that.
you only went once.
About once and about ½ an inch overlap. Yeah.
Can you overtrain or over stabilize a vine up a stake?
You really don't want to have ties like every inch of the plant because you do want to allow for both photosynthesizing and also for the plant to be able to grow. It's really important when you do this process not to cover the new soft growth.
Okay.
Because you don't want to impede it from pushing the new growth out.
Okay.
Don't block the way. So as long as you miss that, you're pretty good to Velcro wherever you need to Velcro.
If Staci didn't want to stake or support it and just wanted to flop over the pot, is there anything wrong with that other than maybe aesthetically being less pleasing?
Honestly, some people don't use any support in the pot with their arrowhead vines. They'll just train them maybe to a wall or up around a shelf. They'll let it climb over their things. But I always recommend having an independent support if possible, whether that's a moss pole, a trellis, or a stake, because it's gonna allow you to care for your plant better. It's a tool for you as a grower. But when push comes to shove, if Staci didn't want to support it, she wouldn't have to. It'd just be a little bit more precarious.
Renata, as you worked with the nerve plant and the arrowhead vine, what are your key takeaways for listeners?
There are really 4 factors that can cause stunting in your plants. And this is in the order of the likelihood of them causing the stunting. Light limitations, drought stress, like you're not watering it frequently enough, nutrient deficiency, if it's lacking in fertilizer, and pot tightness, if it's been a long time since it's been repotted. And it's also important to remember that while I do recommend only changing one factor at a time, if you're going through the diagnosis process yourself, if you are consulting an expert like yours truly, then you can change more factors at a time if they know what they're doing. It's kind of a tag team effort then.
Getting to do it one-on-one with you and see that I can do the things and not kill it or damage it or hurt it makes a lot of difference.
Now, the other key takeaway that's always important to remember is that plants are tough. It's not going to hurt the plant.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, okay,
I
good.
feel more empowered.
It's really going to be hard to do something in one fell swoop that's going to kill your plant. So if you're hesitant to push a stake down into the root system, then don't be, because your plant's going to recover even if you break off half the roots. So now, after doing these processes, are you feeling more comfortable that you can get a plant to be a little bit more active in its growth?
Yeah, I at least know where to start.
If people want to check out more content from you, Renata, or sometimes referred to as the Plant Bus Lady, how can they do that?
Well, if you want to see more visual demonstrations or behind the scenes footage from this episode, you can visit my YouTube channel, Renata's Garden. Or if you'd like to see more educational content and to stay in the know on what's coming from the Plant Bus Lady, you can visit and subscribe to Renata's Garden Gander on Substack. And as always, thanks for listening.